The sea has always been a place of mystery, vast, dark, and untamable. It has swallowed ships whole, carried sailors to far-off lands, and whispered stories that blur the line between truth and legend. But among all the tales the ocean has ever carried, one story stands above the rest. A ship found adrift in the Atlantic, perfectly seaworthy, its cargo untouched, food and water still waiting in the galley, but the crew, every last soul, was gone. This was no wreck, no storm-tossed ruin. This was the Mary Celeste, the most famous ghost ship in history. The year was 1872. The Mary Celeste, a sturdy merchant brigantine, had set sail from New York, bound for Genoa, Italy. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, a seasoned and respected sailor, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and a crew of 7. They carried a cargo of 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, valuable but volatile. To those who saw them off, the voyage seemed routine. The ship was sound, the crew experienced, the weather fair. There was no reason to expect anything but a safe crossing, yet the ocean has a way of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. On December 5th, 1872, another ship, the British brig Des Gratia, spotted the Mary Celeste drifting in the Atlantic, some 400 miles east of the Azores. At first, they thought she was simply off course. But as they drew nearer Unea Secryptine, the ship's sails were tattered, flapping listlessly in the wind. Her movements were sluggish, unnatural, as though she were being guided by no hand at all. The crew of the Des Gratia sent men aboard. What they found would baffle the world. The Mary Celeste was empty. Completely, eerily empty. The ship's lifeboat was missing, cut away from its rigging, but the rest of the vessel was seaworthy. There was no sign of struggle, no evidence of attack. The cargo was intact, every barrel accounted for, though a few had leaked. The crew's belongings lay undisturbed. Clothing, pipes, even valuables remained where they had been left. The captain's log was still in the cabin, its last entry dated November 25th. 10 days earlier, placing the ship just off the Azores, on course and in good condition. The food stores were full. The galley was tidy, with meals seemingly ready to be prepared. The sailors' pipes were still packed with tobacco, as if they had set them down, intending to return. And yet, no one was there. Not the captain, not his wife, not his daughter, not the crew. 10 souls had vanished, leaving behind only silence. The men of the Des Gratia, seasoned sailors themselves, felt the weight of unease pressing down upon them. To step aboard the Mary Celeste was to step into a riddle the sea itself had written. They sailed her, ghost-like, into Gibraltar, where the mystery of her abandonment only deepened. Speculation ran wild. Newspapers across the world carried the story, each adding its own twist. What had become of the crew of the Mary Celeste? Some suggested piracy, but the untouched cargo and valuables made little sense. Others whispered of mutiny, but Captain Briggs was respected, and no signs of violence could be found. The missing lifeboats suggested they had left willingly or in haste. But why? The ship had been perfectly sound. Then came darker theories. Some claimed the fumes from the alcohol cargo had leaked, filling the hold with the stench of explosive vapors. Perhaps the captain, fearing an imminent explosion, ordered everyone into the lifeboat, tethered to the Mary Celeste by a rope. A sudden squall or mishap could have cut the line, leaving the crew adrift while their ship sailed on, abandoned. It was a chilling but plausible explanation. Others turned to the supernatural. Whispers spread of sea monsters rising from the depths, dragging the sailors into the waves. Some claimed the Bermuda Triangle's influence reached farther than believed, that the Mary Celeste had wandered into a pocket of the unknown. Still others spoke of curses that the ship itself was doomed, haunted from keel to mast. The mystery only deepened with time. The Mary Celeste herself continued to sail 4 years after, changing hands again and again, but her name was forever marked. Sailors were wary of her, believing no good could come from a ship with such a past. In 1885, she was deliberately wrecked off the coast of Haiti in a failed insurance scam. But by then, her legend was already immortal. And yet, the unanswered question remains: What happened on board the Mary Celeste in 1872? The ocean keeps its secrets well. Perhaps Captain Briggs did order his family and crew into the lifeboat, and they drifted until the sea consumed them. Perhaps a freak storm struck, and they panicked. Or perhaps something stranger still took them, something we cannot name or measure. Imagine stepping aboard her in those first moments. The creak of wood, the snap of torn sails, the silence heavy, unnatural, as if the ship itself were holding its breath. Personal belongings sitting where they had been placed, waiting for hands that would never return. A child's toy, a half-written letter, a pipe set carefully aside. The presence of absence stronger than any ghost. The Mary Celeste was not a wreck, not a ruin. She was a story frozen mid-sentence, her ending torn away. That is what makes her so chilling. To this day, she remains the greatest of ghost ships, a symbol of the sea's power to bewilder and unsettle. For some, she is a cautionary tale of human fear, of how panic can undo even the strongest. For others, she is proof that the world holds mysteries beyond our grasp. When you hear the name Mary Celeste, you hear not just of a ship, but of emptiness. Of footsteps that should have echoed on her deck, but did not. Of voices lost to the wind. Of a question that lingers in the salt air. Where did they go? Perhaps the ocean claimed them gently, carrying them into its depths with no struggle, no sound. Perhaps they still drift somewhere in the imagination. A crew forever lost, their ship sailing on without them. Or perhaps, on stormy nights when the sea is restless, the Mary Celeste sails again, unseen, her phantom crew still at their posts, forever bound to a voyage without end. The truth is lost, carried away by the tides, but the legend of the Mary Celeste endures, haunting the waves, reminding us that even in an age of reason and science, the sea still belongs, in part, to mystery. And so the Mary Celeste drifts forever in our minds, a ghost ship, timeless and silent, her decks empty, her story unfinished, a riddle written on the water, with no answer but the endless, whispering sea.